Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown, Dunkirk, and Westfield, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County.
The Chautauqua Center.
Are you looking for affordable medical, dental, or counseling services? The Chautauqua Center is always accepting new patients at their Jamestown and Dunkirk locations. They offer discounted prescriptions and accept all insurances. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Happy Saturday, everybody. I'm Doc Hamels, and thanks for joining us here at the studios of Access Chautauqua, downtown Mayville, New York. And you are watching us on Spectrum 1301, or maybe you're watching us live streaming off of Facebook. And I want to say hello, world. I'm glad you could join us as well. Also want to say good afternoon to all of my listeners on WRFA 107.9, low power to the people. Thanks for joining in. Just to give you a little clue, we're going to be talking about a pretty heady, serious topic today called domestic violence. And I want you to stick around because this affects all of us somewhere in our lives, whether we know somebody or we're involved with a situation as well. So please do stick around. I think you're going to find it very informative and maybe even a resource for those that you know and love out there. Okay, with that being said, I want to remind you that if during the show you have a comment or question, as we did last week, we had some callers and the week before, give us a call at 716-753-5225. If you have an event that's actually going to take place, if you have a virtual event that's going to take place, it doesn't matter. Let us know, and we'll be happy to get that on the air, as you know. And just going to pop something up here in a second, because you also, if we're not here during the week, you can email us, you can go to Twitter, you can go to Facebook, you can do whatever. You can send us a letter right here at the studio, and we'll try to get that all to you. So throughout the show, don't hesitate to give us a call. We don't mind. Well, today was a little bit of a rude awakening at 53 degrees. I put a double jacket on to walk Brody outside, but it's a sign of the times, and we are getting towards that fall weather. And for those of you that may or may not have had a fall with us here in Chautauqua County, you're in for a treat. This is a great time to be alive in Chautauqua County. All the other seasons are fine, but this one just has its own special. Thanks, Jeff, for getting that up. Okay, there's the information if you want to get a hold of us. Anyways, the fall, the autumn is a really nice time of the year because, especially where we live, out here in the west part of the county, northwest, you got all the grapes. And as we often say, on a nice, muggy, late September night, you just take a deep breath and it's just so fragrant. Just the Concord grapes, it's just wonderful. Or you just go throughout the farmland, you see pumpkins on display and a lot of your fall foliage, and it's just great place to go and travel throughout the county and visit different spots. You don't have to leave the county. Lots of going on as far as the sites. Hopefully some of the events will start to open up again, but we'll see. All right, got a few things to announce before I get to my regular announcements. These are just sort of like FYI things. I don't have a slide for this, but let's see, in about 53 minutes over in Ripley, there's the book and bake sale at the Ripley Public Library over there on Main Street in Goodrich. The funds, of course, are supporting the renovation project. They have torn out the insides of the library, which is the former Baptist church there, and it's going to be phenomenal when it's done. So if you're interested in getting a good bite, get something to eat, or pick up a good book for the coming cooler days, go over there from 10 to 4 today at the Ripley Free Library, Public Library. Okay, this afternoon, this is totally a selfish announcement. I'll be playing with the Growlers at 1 o'clock at the Big Inlet Brewing. We had Randy Henderson on last week, who was telling you all about his company there and what they do. And we're going to be opening for a band called the Probables, and they're a really popular group in the region. And they're playing from 2 to 5. So anyways, 1 o'clock, I'll be playing with the Growlers, and it should be a lot of fun. Looks like the weather is going to warm up, and it's going to be a great afternoon. Okay, we are very, very happy to announce that starting today, at 4 o'clock and 10 o'clock daily throughout the week, a program that we all here developed called Chautauqua Strong and Healthy is going to start up with Nancy Dunbar, and she's doing a program called Healthy Bones. And basically it's an exercise program. I can talk. And it's about a 45-minute program, I think. And a lot of these programs that I'm going to talk about here in a second were prompted by the Office for the Aging, Dr. Mary Ann Spanos, who recommended that we get together with these folks and we develop programs for you at home. Some of you maybe are feeling a little bit stranded, or programs that you used to go to your senior citizen centers or even at the senior residence places like Fredonia Place or LLSS and Tanglewood and so forth. Way too many to mention. A lot of these programs are being offered in your facilities, but now you can do it right at home. So this week at 4 and 10 daily, you're going to see Healthy Bones. Starting next week, and I'll bring this up again, Tai Chi with Irene Terryberry and Dr. Ann Servas. And then after that, the next 4 weeks, and we haven't confirmed the last of the two, but we're pretty sure, we're going to have Carrie Skelton, who's going to do Eat Healthy and Be Active. And she's cooking up a storm right here in the studio for you. And there's 4 different workshops, and she's turned me on to quinoa and a few other little types of foods that I've never had before. So lots of fun, and I think you'll enjoy that. And those will all be at 4 and 10 daily from now through the end of the month. So check it out. And let's see, then I want to mention that this is that time of year also. It's the fall, but it's also election season. And as all of you know, I seldom ever talk about politics on Chautauqua Sunrise. That's part of my job. I created this show not to talk about politics, but we do have something called Chautauqua Candidates. And Chris Burt is the producer of that show, and we are going to be interviewing a variety of candidates on September 26th. We're going to tape all that, and then we'll announce when they'll be available. But I'm not going to go through the list because it may change, but I'll tell you that we've invited folks that are running for Congress, county executive, state senator, state assemblyman, and district attorney. So those are the big elections that we're covering. We couldn't get any presidential candidates here. That's okay. But these are all local and that are of great importance to all of us. And as I always say, that's where we try to focus here on Chautauqua Sunrise, on the local issues. So that's coming up, just to let you know, and we'll announce that. All right, so let's see what else we got going here. Also, just to mark your calendar, I don't know if we got this into the system or not. If we didn't, that's okay. October 17th, the Westfield Mayville Rotary Club is having their Gold Rush. Now, for those of you that know what the Gold Rush is, it's a raffle where we give away money and prizes every year. And the funds go to support local scholarships and helping out community services and different other organizations. And this year it's going to be virtual, so nobody's going to be in person to watch the drawing and all that sort of thing. Tickets are only $20. The grand prize is $1,000 cash. Not bad, $20 investment. Also, there's going to be a 40-inch TV and then a whole slew of gift certificates and all kinds of things. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll tell you more about it, but I'll be hosting it live streaming the last part of the actual drawing as far as the grand prizes and that's going to be live. And so we'll help you figure that out when we get closer. I've got Jan Burkhouse coming on before that in October, who's the president of the club, and she'll explain things a little bit more. But anyways, if you know a Rotarian and you're interested, tickets are only $20. No meal this year, so it's a reduction in, well, I got to take that back. Tickets are $25, but if you get 5 friends together and you spend $100 for $100, you get a $5 off. So $25 regular price. If you get a group of you or you buy 5 tickets, are only $20 a piece. I misspoke there. All right. So anyways, October 17th, mark your calendar. All right. So we have a few other things. And I can pull out my glasses for this one. Big award from the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency. So we got a really cool picture, I believe, for that. Or slide 16. They got $10.5 million in federal funding to establish new low-interest revolving loan funds. Okay, the loans are to be made available to businesses and nonprofits to aid in economic recovery as a result of COVID-19. There's the whole crew there. You'll recognize some masks, I think. Now this is really interesting, and I like to share this information because this is good stuff, and many businesses are struggling right now. Some people are trying to start their businesses, and the IDA can really be helpful. So let's see what it says. The U.S. Economic Development Administration, the EDA, officially announced on September 9th that the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency has been selected as the recipient of $10.5 million in grant monies through the CARES Act, which will enable the agency to establish a new revolving loan fund. This fund will provide capital in the form of low-interest loans to both businesses and nonprofit organizations as a means to respond to economic injury, imagine that, resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. And I know a lot of companies have suffered because they've had to do a lot of extra expenses, or they've been out of work, or just for a million different reasons. The award is very exciting because it will enable access to desperately needed capital to numerous businesses and nonprofits throughout the county, thereby enabling them to stay open or move forward with resource expenditures that they were planning before the onset of the pandemic, says P.J. Wendell, the county executive. And as he says, all along, our comeback will be greater than our setback, and this funding is proof positive that we will not only recover, we will have another economic development tool to spur, if you don't practice these things 10 times, you never know what you're going to say. Economic development tool to spur investment and job creation in this county for years to come as a result of the pandemic. And he's very grateful to the IDA and the county's economic development team for their continued hard work and so on. Let's see, as part of the EDA's CARES Act recovery assistance, the EDA invited select recipients of existing existing EDA funded award. What? Wait a minute. Invited current recipients of the existing EDA funded revolving loan fund awards, that's a mouthful, including the IDA, to apply for supplemental RLF award to help respond to the unusual and compelling urgency of the coronavirus. EDA has determined that the Chautauqua IDA, by virtue of its long-standing and substantial investments in making credit available to small businesses, possess unique abilities to support the CARES Act Recovery Assistance Initiative, and that it was therefore in the public's best interest to make this award available on a non-competitive basis. So that's good news. One more quote and then we'll wrap that up. Mark Geis, who's the Deputy County Executive, who's been on the show here before, says the following: "This award is a game changer for Chautauqua County and speaks to the EDA's confidence in this agency to immediately deploy necessary capital within our county to retain and create a significant number of jobs and to expedite the economic recovery in the wake of COVID-19. He wants to thank his team, especially Rich Dixon and Nate Aldrich, for working so hard to secure this funding on behalf of the county. They're committed to employing an allocation strategy that is systemic, inclusive, and equitable, so we can have maximum impact with a generous award." So anyways, that goes on and on and on. So if you're interested, contact the IDA, and I'm sure they're going to let you know what's going on. But that's great news. $10.5 million. I mean, that's certainly well needed. Okay, and for more information, you can go to their website called ccida.com, and if you want to give them a call at 716-661-8900. One more time, 716-661-8900. If you're listening and you think you might be interested, call. Don't wait. And don't be hesitant. The money's available, and I've known from other people that have businesses, these loans and these funds are so crucial to keep you floating. So don't be shy. All right, let's go on to the next one. Prevention Works. Chautauqua County Family and Caregiving Support Group provides a welcoming environment for parents, family members, and other caregivers of individuals with developmental disabilities to meet, share experiences, and ask questions and receive support. This is going to be a Zoom meeting starting at 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. on September 24th. The meeting ID number is 826-7966-0440, and the password is 028188. Let me say that one more time. The meeting ID is 826-7966-0440, and the password is 028188. Of course, if you can't remember all that, give them a call at 332-4170, and I think Kathleen Colby is the contact person there. All right. Now you might say, I can't remember all that. Just go to YouTube and find the show, and you can listen to those numbers all over again. Or you can call the station here, and we'll be happy to give it to you. All right. Trivia Night. Prevention Works and Star Search Productions present a trivia night featuring the following. Joint Prevention Works for host Julia Sowery. You guys are killing me this morning. In our first time ever virtual night event. Topics are from hit TV shows and Office and Friends. Okay, that's going to be held September 25th. It's a Zoom video communication. And if you're interested, rather than giving all of these numbers, give them a call, 664-3608, 664-3608. Sounds like a lot of fun. And this is called Star Search Productions Zoom Trivia. Okay, we're going to take a break. We've got this public service announcement for you, and we'll be right back.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that. That's disgusting. Oh, poop already! You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
I think we saw that one before, and we still laugh about that. If we only knew what our pets were thinking when they watch us do what we do. Okay, on a more serious note, I want to refocus our attention today. The pandemic has really juiced up a lot of issues in our lives, throughout our communities, in our friends' lives, our neighbors, children's lives, and so forth. But some of these issues have been around for a long time before this pandemic, so we can't really blame it on the pandemic. This is just making things a whole lot worse in some cases. You read about it in the newspaper and so forth. My guest today contacted me and said, can we get on the show and talk about this issue? And I said, absolutely. So I want to welcome Diana Butcher, who is the program director at the Salvation Army, a new center. And good morning.
Good morning.
So how's that for an introduction?
That's perfect.
Okay. So before we get into this topic, I'd like people to get to know you a little bit. So who's Diana Butcher? Where are you from? And how'd you get to this position?
Oh boy. So I'm not originally from this area. I grew up a military child, so I moved all over the world. But my biological family is originally from this area, so I landed here and met my husband and never left. So I currently live in Cat County, but have lived in Chautauqua County most of my almost 40 years that I've been here. And I came to the Salvation Army in kind of a backwards way. I did not know about the Salvation Army Domestic Violence Program for many, many years. And I was working at another agency, and a coworker actually informed me that they knew of a position that was open, and back then it was the Salvation Army Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Program.
See, this is a morning for long titles. Holy Marco.
And she told me about it and said, you know, I think that you should really go and talk to these folks. It sounds like something that's right up your alley from conversations that we had been having and the previous work that I had done at different agencies. The focus always came back to child abuse and domestic violence. So
do you have a degree, or did you study this area?
I actually do. I went to
good.
SUNY Fredonia,
Right.
and I have a bachelor's in psychology. And so the previous jobs that I had, the folks that we were providing services to, time and time again, were disclosing domestic violence and or child abuse, and also a lot of sexual assaults as well for some of those folks. So I called them up and got in and got an interview, and the very first position I had 22 years ago, almost 22 years ago, was the case manager for the domestic violence shelter.
Wow.
So over the years, my position has changed a little bit. And I think it was about 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, I became the program director.
Okay.
And so the programs have changed and grown over the years. We're still what I consider a small program, but we do a lot of work and we do a lot of comprehensive services. So we're a dual program. We're a domestic violence and sexual assault program. Some of the larger counties, they break their programs up, but due to the population size of our community, we're all under one roof.
Okay. Sadly, I think most of us think of Salvation Army as where you take your clothes, drop things off, and
Yes.
maybe, I don't know.
Red kettles.
Red kettles, So obviously this is one of those programs that people support through their donations, I'm assuming, and so
Yes.
forth. So.
Yeah. Most of our funding for the New Center comes through grant writing. So we get county, state, and federal funds. The Red Kettle campaign really focuses on those other services that we provide, the Christmas program, the coat program, the food program, the emergency assistance. So the interesting thing about the Salvation Army, I too, before I came to the Salvation Army, knew that there were thrift stores and everyone's seen the Red Kettle. I knew it was a church, but that was about all I knew. And once I became an employee, learned that we really are all encompassing with human services. So depending on what Salvation Army it is and where it's located, they are always a church, but each Salvation Army has a specific human service need that they meet. So it might be something as simple as a food pantry in the church, or it might be a very large program that oversees orphanages or community centers. It just varies from community to
They
community.
meet the needs of where they are. Now, you and I have both mentioned the word anew. Where did that come from? I mean, is it still the Salvation Army? Is it new?
It is the Salvation Army, so we fall under the Salvation Army. Like I said, we had that very long name previous, and we got together as a team and thought, there's got to be something a little bit better. We were looking at changing our brochures at the time. We wanted to update. And so we know that it's a very difficult it's very difficult to talk about domestic violence. It's a difficult societal concern, and we wanted to put a more positive look on it. So when we said, we're from the Salvation Army Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Program, go to a dinner party and say that, right? So
I can't even say it Saturday morning.
So we were looking at different things, and I don't remember who it was, but we started talking about, the caterpillar goes to a chrysalis, and from the chrysalis you emerge as this beautiful butterfly, and that's how we were likening or thinking, our survivors, they go through this journey in life and can come out very different in a positive light. And someone had said, they come out of the chrysalis and they come out anew as a new butterfly. So we kind of took that and ran with it, and that's how we got our little butterfly symbol. So the Salvation Army, you'll always see on everything that we do, we have our little red shield to represent the Salvation Army, because we do fall under that. And then there's the little purple butterfly as well. So that's specific to our Anew Center program.
So the Anew Center is only in Jamestown, or is this worldwide?
Good question. So it is specific to Chautauqua County.
Both ends?
Both ends. We
Okay.
do provide services that are all free and confidential to anyone who's been a victim in the county. We do have a satellite office in the Salvation Army building that's located at 704 Central Avenue in Dunkirk.
Right.
Pre-COVID, we were able to meet with victims in other locations if it was safe for them and for us. We really try to meet the needs of the clients, and so, public spaces or things like that, we could meet with folks. COVID has kind of changed things up for us very much, and we've had to become very inventive. We have never shut down. We've continued to provide services for folks throughout this time. We've just had to change what that looks like a little bit.
Okay, so true or false, was I correct that right now these situations of domestic violence and sexual assault are up?
That's a good question. So I think that we're not going to know the real answer until later, and we can gather some statistics and compile some research on that. Domestic violence has always been here. It's not going to go away anytime soon, unfortunately. So I think my educated guess to that question would be that it's at least at the same level, but it probably is higher because we know that it is affected by things like stress in the family. Folks who maybe their perpetrator perhaps worked full-time and was out of the house for part of the day, now maybe is at home all the time. Then you have the children home as well, so you have layers of added stressors that may...
More opportunity too.
That increase that. The one thing I can say is that our non-residential program, excuse me for the allergies, our non-residential program has seen an uptick in the requests for orders of protection.
Okay.
So that has really skyrocketed, so that also tells me that there's an increase.
Yeah, I think I read just across the United States, I think it was up pretty good. Okay, so let's now drill down a bit more. So we've talked about things in general. What I like to do is define terms. So we're going to define two terms, if we would. Domestic violence and sexual assault. Because you know how things are. Somebody playfully say is, my spouse did this and that was domestic, abuse or whatever. Or someone did something and now they're coining it sexual assault. Big differences in terminology and degree and so forth. So kind of walk us through, if you will, what are we talking here?
So the definition of domestic violence is an imbalance of power and control in a relationship. And it's an intimate partner relationship or a family relationship.
Okay.
So it's a lot broader than I think most people think. I think they think of husbands, wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, but it can be between a grandparent and a grandchild, or an uncle, or people who are cohabitating together. So it's an extended definition. It's not just two intimate partners that domestic violence can occur.
So anybody within that domicile, within that
Yes.
household perhaps?
Yep.
All right.
And again, imbalance of power and control. And there's this great Duluth model power and control wheel, and it breaks it down into all the different sections of what domestic violence can look like, because domestic violence is not always physical violence. That can be a component, or it might not exist at all in domestic violence. And I think that's another mythology that folks aren't familiar with. So someone can be abused, and most abuse actually is psychological and emotional abuse. And then the physical abuse quite often will come along. It doesn't usually happen immediately in a relationship. There's economic abuse, sexual abuse, there's isolation, coercion. So there's a lot of different components of what domestic violence looks like and how it happens. With sexual violence, sexual assault is a wide term, and under sexual assault falls things like child sexual abuse, forcible touching, rape, sexual harassment. So again, like you said, there's a continuum, and whether you look at actions or the penal law too,
Right.
we won't get into that because
No,
that's
please
that's very complex.
It's a
The
very-
penal law code is very thick for a reason.
Yeah.
But sexual assault again is the overall statement for all these different types of behaviors and actions that can fall under that.
Okay. So right now people are watching us, they're listening to us. They probably will come back to this video from time to time, I hope, if they need to. And so for those that are watching right now and listening, where am I going with this? I guess what I'm getting at is it's here. It's real.
It is.
And so how does one know that they're in it? Let's go domestic violence first.
Okay.
all right? Because you said psychological. I mean, that's so webby. I mean, if somebody slugs you, you got a black eye, you can sort of get it. But psychological is so insidious. I mean, it creeps up on people. How does someone know that they're being, manipulated or whatever, coerced, as you use the term, and then what do they do about it?
So good question. I'd like to think that most folks who get into a relationship do it for all the right reasons. And so it can be difficult to recognize domestic violence. And sometimes the onset is very quick and very swift, and other times it does take a long time. Often it's learned behavior by perpetrators. And so different perpetrators have different tactics that they use. They learn what works for them or what works with that particular victim. So it might be isolation initially, what we call putting you on the pedestal. Maybe very quickly in the relationship kind of going over the top, and so as the person receiving gifts and lavish compliments and things like that, we might think that's all good, and really it's kind of setting us up down the line. And I'm not saying every relationship is like that, right? But it can be the way to draw you in, right?
Yeah.
And so if that person is then not wanting you to have friends or to see your family, or I'll take care of you, you don't need to work, doesn't want you to have access to finances, those kinds of things are what you want to start to pay attention to.
So it almost sounds like they've paid for you. they've given you all this, and now you kind of owe them.
You owe them, or
Whoa.
you're very dependent on them.
Yeah.
So if we don't have family or friends to access, family and friends are usually our best and closest support systems, right? When we need something, we reach out usually to our friends and our family first. So if that person is able to isolate you away from those folks, you now have less of a support system. You're less likely to be able to be effective in reaching out or getting out once you do recognize that it's an unhealthy relationship. And there's definitely a difference between what an unhealthy relationship looks like and an abusive relationship. So again, going back to that imbalance of power and control, it's a pervasive pattern. So sometimes in relationships, we have our little fights or our spats, right? We don't always agree, things aren't always great. Sometimes we might not use language towards each other that's very kind or nice. But there's a difference between this pattern of behavior and the kinds of words that we use. So if someone is constantly putting you down and using vulgar language and damaging your self-esteem, that's what we call red flags, things to start looking at and start addressing and trying to figure out like what's going on in this relationship. But you're right, it's very clear and easy when somebody has a black eye or a bruise or something like that, or somebody outrightly threatens to harm you, and we find that that's not the majority of cases.
You said something very interesting to me. You said sometimes it's learned behavior. From where?
From the perpetrator? The perpetrator's learned behavior? Well, so domestic violence and sexual violence in our country is a societal ill, is how I like to frame it. Domestic violence and violence against women in general is a pandemic. I'm sure you're probably well aware that it doesn't just happen in the United States,
True.
but as an
Absolutely.
Industrialized country, we're one of the worst. We have one of the highest rates of domestic violence and child abuse and sexual assault. So where does that all stem from, and where does that come from? Macro, we're looking at how our society runs and how that works and what's permissible. And I think if we look at a lot of the things that are happening right now with social injustices and things that people are bringing to our attention, all of those things tie in. Some of the things that contribute to domestic violence is inequality, poverty. There's that learned behavior as you're growing up of what's allowable, what's permissible. So
Are you saying you learn it from your parents?
You could learn it from your parents, you could learn it from your friends, you could learn it just in society in general. There's been a lot of research done, even based on like the way that we present in the media, our films, our commercials even, they're quite over-sexualized, the way women are portrayed in the media and when we're selling products, which that's a whole nother, we could talk for 2 hours about that.
Yeah.
It's an ingrained kind of a behavior. So it's not, it's organic with those folks in a way, I guess, because they are justifying their bad behaviors.
I have a kind of a little thing to share here. Lately, we've been trying to watch different programs on TV to get away from the talking heads like everybody's been watching probably for the last who knows how long. And so my wife likes Adam 12. I don't know if you remember that series.
I sure do.
Okay. For those younger folks that are watching in my studio, you know Adam 12? All right. So just to refresh everybody's memory, it's two policemen. I think they're LA police or something like that. And it's the daily lives of these two police officers running their beat in the car and so forth. Well, anyways, the reason why I brought it up was I just saw one episode yesterday, and this will fit. So they get a call into this situation where the son is doing drugs, narcotics. And so they go to the house, and the mother's portrayed as very weak. Do you really have to do this? Can't you just go away and everything will be fine? And wait till my husband gets home. He comes pouring through the door. You shut up, woman. I'll handle this. And I mean, he's just a jerk. And I've seen this in a variety of episodes Now this goes back to the 60s, and I'm thinking like, wow, I don't think we would see it quite like that nowadays on TV because of, our culture has changed. But I thought, wow, if people were watching those back then, that was kind of typical. The man was, he was the boss of the house, and you shut up, and I'm, all that sort of thing. And it's like, oh, it just irritates the heck out of me to watch those sometimes. But that's learned behavior back then.
Yep.
And that's how Dad did it, and Mom just shut her mouth or whatever back then, generations ago, and just put up with it. But wow. But they're not putting up with it anymore, are they?
Well, it's that we've seen improvements pre-COVID. There have been for about 20, 25 years now a movement. I'm sure most folks have heard about domestic violence and have some general idea. There's a lot of campaigns out there. And so through research and study, we have found in the last few years that there has been some decrease. The awareness, I think some people feel like, oh, it must be even worse than it used to be. I feel like the awareness and the ability for survivors now to feel comfortable to come forward and to report makes it look like maybe there's been an increase, but through some national research, there has been some evidence that there is an overall nationally a decrease in domestic violence. For probably a couple of different reasons, and one may be more accountability, law enforcement being involved, and instead of that should stay behind closed doors, that's their business. No, we're making arrests. We have orders of protection in place. We're taking firearms away from the perpetrators when orders of protection are in place to help keep the victims safer. So. I feel like as much as there's gloom and doom around the topic, and it certainly is pervasive, there are some good sides to it as well, and we are seeing improvement. Just the fact that we have had these awareness campaigns and people are aware of them, and you have like the NFL worked with No More and did a huge campaign and ran commercials and things and got those folks involved because we know of late the NFL has really been devastated by survivers or videotapes coming to light of some of their behavior.
Anger.
So it's a very complex social problem, and it's not going to be solved quickly. But I have faith that we'll be able to continue to move forward. Okay,
hold that thought, folks. You're watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels, and my guest today is Diana Butcher, who's the program director of the Salvation Army, a new center. And we're talking about various aspects of domestic violence and sexual assault. And if you have a question or comment, please give us a call at 753-5225. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about some of the behaviors that people are exhibiting that are causing domestic violence and so forth. What do they do about it if they find themselves in it?
So locally, we have a hotline number. It's 1-800-252 oh gosh, now I'm having a blank. 252 48 oh my gosh, I'm having a blank. I'm so embarrassed. 661-3898 3897 will get you. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry.
All right, one more. Let's go slower on that one.
661 3897 will get you. That's our hotline number, our local hotline number. So we have Facebook. There it is. Yeah, 1-800-252-8748. Here, I was dyslexic. And it's been the same number for 22 years. So we have a local hotline. Obviously, if people are in an emergency situation and in danger, we encourage everyone to call 911 so that they can have law enforcement come. All of the law enforcement agencies have our information and can give folks our number as well. So you can reach out to us on our Facebook. We have the Salvation Army, a new center Facebook page that they can reach out. And we do have some people that just stop in. We have the Salvation Army churches. People are very familiar with that. There's a lot of things going on at the churches.
And you're located where?
And so 83 South Main Street is the Jamestown location, and then the 704 in Dunkirk. And if somebody goes there and asks for an employee, they'll reach out to us. Our location is confidential, where our hotline is, but all of our employees will be able to get a hold of us right away to do intervention. If they seek out someone else or another agency and they're at another agency and they disclose, the other agencies in the community work really, really well with us and will reach out to us as well. They can make that phone call on their own or while they're with someone. We have our non-residential services, which is our case managers, and we have our shelter services. So if someone's in need of a safe place, we're available 24 hours a day, 365. And then we have a children and family outreach program as well, which I'd like to talk a bit about in a minute. And we have a prevention education program. So we get folks mostly through our hotline, but there's just a variety of ways that people can outreach to us.
I want you to talk to the camera now, and I want you to talk to those that one person or two persons are listening that may find themselves in that situation, or they know of someone in that situation. What would you tell them to do right this minute?
Well, I would say to them that if they feel that they're in a situation that they may be emotionally or physically in danger, or their children are in danger, that they, if they're in Chautauqua County, can call that hotline number. They can talk confidentially with our hotline workers, and they can review with them options and referrals. All of our work is free, and we are confidential. We will not share your conversation with anyone else without your permission. And you can get some information so that you can move forward and make a decision that's best for you. We don't tell people what to do. We give them information, referral, and support. We feel that survivors are you're the narrator of your story, and you are the best person to make the decisions that you need to make at that time.
And as they're watching right now and they're scared to death to do it, what do they do?
It's tough, and everybody has to come to it at their own time. I know often family and friends will call us as well and know that
so
someone.
That's okay?
Family and friends can call, yep, and they'll know that someone's in a situation, and we can give them support and give them information on how to support their loved one or their friend. But ultimately, we really need to let survivors make that choice. We can't take control no matter what we think we might feel is best for them. Yeah. That's not going to work for them. The best thing that you can do is show love and concern and support and let them know that you're there for them. And when they are ready, that maybe you can help them yourself, or you know who to reach out to. We would, of course, not want anyone to endanger themselves if it was an extremely dangerous situation. But there's a lot of different resources. You don't have to go through the News Center to get help. There are a lot of great counseling agencies out there in the community. We have a lot of other agencies in place, human services agencies, where maybe those workers can provide support as well. We do only have one shelter in the community, so it is located in the south end of the community. We don't have any shelter in the north end, so sometimes people have to relocate for a short time while they're in shelter, but at least we do have the shelter facility.
Okay, and we don't disclose where the shelter is, obviously, but people that are watching right now, they say, what? I could use that. What can they expect if they were to walk through the door?
So we are licensed through OCFS, the Office of Children and Family Services. We're a 13-bed facility. It is a home-like environment. It is not institutional in any way in the setting. We have 24-hour staff. Our hotline is based in that building as well. We have support staff, and we have crisis and services advocates, who are the folks on the front line and have direct contact. They're the 24-hour staff for that facility. And then we have our case managers that are available. We can do we do a lot of crisis intervention, obviously, and doing that emotional support and counseling type services. But we can also do things like assist people with getting orders of protection, working with law enforcement to have a peace officer go to get their belongings with them so that they're protected while they're going and getting their medications and their clothing and things like that they need. We can help with a variety of things. Everything from we've helped people find jobs to finding new safe housing. We have support group. It's just very comprehensive because when the person comes to us, we do a goal plan with them. It's their goal plan. These are our needs. This is what we need help with. And then we will work with them to try to get those goals taken care of.
Okay, and now do children come with their spouse or their parent? I'm assuming it could be male
Yes,
or female, right?
yes, we provide services to anybody, LGBTQ community, males. We are open as long as you are a survivor. And you can most certainly bring your children. If there's an issue with custody or some other related issue, we will address that. That's usually one of the first things that we'll tackle and address.
Okay. I just heard a dog bark, so that means Linda Spalding is online.
Oh.
Good morning, Linda.
Good morning. Good morning, Doc. Good morning, Diana. Such a beautiful day. Diana, your presentation is so fascinating, and it's so much needed with the things that you were saying. And I have read that the domestic violence and cases are going upward because of all the factors that you mentioned, plus the fact that there's so much depression because people are being confined. So this is a very important presentation. There's so much to this, and so much for people to learn. So thank you for what you're doing.
Well, thank you for listening and being concerned and participating. And we're happy to serve. That's, our mission.
Yeah, there's a lot out there, and a lot out there that people don't know about.
Linda, Diana touched on this very briefly, but since you're working with seniors, elder abuse, is that an issue for our county, Lynn?
Yes, elder abuse is an issue. And the elder abuse program used to be with the Chautauqua County Department of Aging Services. We've changed the name.
Yeah, I know.
You have to get used to it.
Me too.
Well, people want to get revitalized and freshen up. But that program has been transferred over to the Department of Social Services.
Okay.
And they don't call it social. It's the other Department of Social Services. They changed their name too. So, but anyway, there is a lot of that, and most frequently, though, it's from what I understand, it's involved with younger family members or friends, quote friends, and the biggest element I understand of elder abuse is financial embezzlement.
I was going to guess that one. Just, Grandma, could I have $20? Grandpa, could you spare 50? Or just getting into their finances somehow.
Yeah.
So, gotta protect them.
It's really unfortunate because, of course, our seniors and our elderly shut-ins are so trusting. We were all brought up to be that way to begin with.
Right.
You never questioned anybody, even your doctor.
Okay.
I know. I was trained to say yes, doctor, no, doctor when I was like 3 years old by my mother, and so. But it is quite a frustrating situation. It's actually heartbreaking, some of the things that can happen.
Okay. And you work with senior or elders as well?
Yes, we do. Yep, we sure do.
Okay. Well, all right. Lynn, so what's going on in your world? We'll move along.
My people are going back to work, and we're doing our host agency safety checks with the COVID. And I'm going to be meeting with people next week on picnic tables outside at the Hall Clothier to interview, and also we have to reestablish their personal situations. So it's going to be a busy 2 or 3 weeks.
All right, and let's get that number up for you guys, and we'll see you later.
The number at the Chautauqua County Aging Services is 753-4471. Also, if people would like to call me on my direct line, because I still am not there every day due to this current situation, my direct line is 753-4856.
Okay, Lynn. Well, Well, thanks for calling as always, and keep us updated on what's going on
Okay,
here.
and have a wonderful day. I understand you have a performance today at
Yes,
1 o'clock.
yes. Everybody knows. We're at the Big Inlet at 1 o'clock, and then we're followed by the Probables at 2. So, yep.
Well, it sounds like it's a wonderful day for it.
Great. Thank you. We'll see you soon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, so we've got about 4 minutes left. That goes by quickly,
It
doesn't it?
does.
But you said you wanted to cover, I think,
Some events that we have
yeah,
going on.
and Jeff had a slide too that was a comprehensive one. Jeff, pop that one up that you told me that you had, and I think let's just make sure we cover that one. So this covers all the different agency services, I assume.
Well, that's actually our brochure for our Children and Family Outreach Program. Then we have another brochure that is all of our services. That one has our hotline. It talks about our case management services, prevention ed, the Children and Family Outreach, and shelter. And also talks a little bit about rape and sexual assault. So again, the number's up there, 1-800-252-8748. The Children and Family Outreach Program, we're always accepting families. Anyone who is identified as, children who have been victims of sexual abuse, neglect or abuse, domestic violence, we'll work with the non-offending parent and the children. And you can reach Kara, who is our program director or our coordinator for that department, through that hotline number. And then we have a couple of other things going on. So October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Okay.
And this year, due to COVID, we've had to get very creative again about how we're going to do awareness events. But for the last, probably 20 years or so, we have been doing a Unity Day walk. And that Unity Day is a remembrance of victims and survers and their families
Do you have a
of
poster
domestic
for that?
violence. I do.
And Miss Emerald, she's going to zoom in
And
on that for
yep,
us.
and then the little the blue highlighted area there is the link. So we're going to do the walk instead of for one day, for an entire week. We used to typically go from the ice arena to the municipal building, and we would have speakers and a very light lunch. This year, we're going to do it virtual. We're encouraging everyone to go out, even if it's just a really quick jaunt down the block, and then send us their link. We're going to kick off on 9/28. And then we're going to run through 10/4, and on 10/4 we'll do a wrap-up. We have some great speakers. I believe Senator Barillo, the mayor, and I believe the chief of police for Jamestown will all be doing some type of a video for us. And we might have some other folks speaking as well. We have some survivors who are going to allow us to put their stories up on the site as well. And so we're hoping to have a good turnout since it is for a whole entire week. We have a lot of agencies doing like the team kind of thing. And the coalition, our Chautauqua County Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault, is sponsoring the walk. And Project Crossroads, which is they have a civilian employee, Elizabeth Bracey, and an officer, John Rader, through Jamestown Police Department. They oversee the coalition. And we also have a Healthy Relationships Conference coming up. So we have our fourth, for a new center, the 4th annual Healthy Relationships Conference. This year it's going to be through virtual or IT. And not in person this year due to COVID. And we have 2 really great components to that. The first part of the day in the morning will be a PACS, and the second part of the day will be Stewards of Children. And PACS will be brought to us by Prevention Works, the great agency that they are. And that is going to be a focus for anyone in the community that works with kids. So parents, caregivers, teachers, agencies that work with children. It's to give tools to help children do things like reduce toxic influences, to help them with their ability to adjust and things like that. Looking for positive pro-social behaviors with kids. And the Child Advocacy Program is going to prevent the Stewards of Children, which is another curriculum that addresses, again, it's for anyone in the community. You don't have to be a professional person to join this. It helps teach how do we react when kids are in child abuse.
Okay, and that brings us to the end. So, folks, please rewatch this show. It's going to be on YouTube shortly, or you can go to our Facebook page. Lots of information. My guest today has been Diana Butcher, the program director of the Salvation Army's News Center. And if you know somebody that's in this situation of domestic abuse or someone that's experiencing sexual assault, please give them a call. Don't hesitate. Call the authorities. Do the right thing. And if you're fearful, you got a friend right here that's going to help you out. Take care. Take care of each other, and we'll see you all again next week. Thanks, Diana.
Thank you.
Sorry we ran out.